everybody, welcome back to You're a Ghost on the internet. And we're doing YouTube again. Thank you for the hydrate, appreciate it. Alright, let's get down to business. We're watching some videos today. It's gonna be dark though, this one's gonna be dark. It's Abyssal Detective again. Yay, we've done this a lot on the channel. If you are on the channel or have seen some stuff from me before, you know what we're up to. It's not gonna be fun. It's gonna be dark. But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna make me mad a lot of the times, I'm sure. That's what we deal with here. So, let's take a look, shall we? This video just came out a few hours ago. Sorry, I thought it was a day ago. No, it's a few hours ago. From recording. I did not expect that. Well, there we go. The Most Disturbing Camcorder Moments Iceberg, Volume 2. Damn. Well, here we are. If you like this kind of content, by the way, for those of you watching, consider liking the video. Maybe hitting that subscribe button, because we're going to be doing this a lot. Maybe not so much the React content. I do plan on doing React content, but like just anything in general, really. I'm a VTuber. Hi. It's what I do. Alright. Now then. Everybody's sitting down. Everybody's got their snacks and their drinks. They're ready to partake. Then let us partake. Wait, volume. Alright, partake!
Man, I could put that gun in my head. But why should I, man? It's a little bit of payback time.
Questodi, one last question. How do you feel about what is ahead for us?
The happiest day of my life.
Yeah, that's my future. Hopefully, we'll put out Metal Machine music next year.
Wait, isn't that Kurt Cobain?
I don't know.
Cobain was found dead this morning at his Seattle estate.
That's just fucking sad, dude.
24 recordings, 7 levels. I've gone through archived camcorder tapes to compile the most disturbing moments ever captured. We'll begin with unusual moments caught by chance and descend into footage that captured real-life horrors as they unfolded. Level 1. The Rising River. In late February 1997, relentless rain fell across the Ohio River Valley. At first, it seemed like just another spring storm, but it was quietly setting the stage for one of Ohio's worst natural disasters.
Oh
After
boy.
days of continuous
I've never heard of
rainfall,
this.
the ground could no longer absorb any more water. Rivers began overflowing their banks, slowly swallowing roads, homes, and entire neighborhoods. By March 5th, the Ohio River had crested at 64.7 feet, flooding large parts of downtown Cincinnati. For many residents, there was little left to do except watch. Some picked up camcorders and documented the final moments of their neighborhoods. Their recordings showed streets transformed into rivers, homes surrounded by floodwater, and businesses disappearing beneath the rising waters.
Oh God,
but the footage
it's a person.
captured only part of the disaster. Nearly 20,000 people were forced to evacuate. Around 6,500 homes were damaged. More than 800 businesses were destroyed, and communities across the Ohio River Valley were left underwater. By the time the floodwaters finally receded, 5 people had tragically lost their lives, and 18 counties across the region had been declared federal disaster areas.
Well, that's not
15 seconds of shaking. The person behind this camera was simply filming, as on every other workday, when the ground suddenly began to shake.
I don't think anything's gonna fall on me. I'm watching the lights.
Ooh!
On the morning of October 1st, 1987,
oh shit, that's a big earthquake.
5.9 earthquake struck near Whittier Narrows, California. Unfortunately, the quake hit beneath one of the most dense,
not humongous, but it's still pretty big.
In the entire United States. Many of the area's older brick buildings had been built before modern earthquake safety standards even existed. Others were homes with large garage openings that weakened the lower floors. During strong shaking like this, those buildings were extremely vulnerable.
So
As
yeah, a
buildings
lot of them
swayed,
just fucking went
chimneys
down.
collapsed through roofs, walls cracked, and debris rained onto streets below. The shaking lasted only about 15 seconds, but the damage lasted much longer. Falling debris killed several people, including a student and a construction worker who died after an excavation collapsed.
God fucking... See what I mean? This is what I mean by shit's about to get dark. God damn it. We're level 1. We're only on level 1. How dark does it possibly get when we get further in? I'm scared. Not really, but I'm worried that I'm gonna be very, very depressed after this. God damn.
Others suffered fatal heart attacks linked to the shock of the earthquake. By the end, 8 people were dead, more than 200 were injured, and property damage reached $358 million.
Jesus.
The
That's
disaster
a lot of
changed
money.
California's building laws. Cities were required to strengthen or demolish thousands of older buildings deemed
That would have done
dangerous
it,
to
yeah.
withstand
Just
future
something that
earthquakes.
big.
All because
Yep.
of 15 seconds. Level 2. A disastrous celebration. On
This
May 11th,
sounds
1985,
familiar.
television
Well, maybe.
cameras were filming
Oh, no, never mind.
Bradford
It's not what I
City's
thought.
celebration of their 3rd Division title. Instead, they would capture one of Britain's worst sporting disasters.
There's a fire.
The
What the
atmosphere
fuck?
was festive, and cameras were rolling as supporters enjoyed the historic afternoon.
I don't know if that fire was
Then,
supposed to be there.
Just before halftime, smoke began rising from beneath
Oh,
the
no,
main
I
stand.
spotted it.
At first, not many people seemed concerned. From a distance, it looked like a small fire that could be quickly brought under control. But within moments,
Oh,
flames
fuck. Oh, that
found
sucks.
For
Oh, that
decades,
must suck for everyone
garbage,
above
old
them.
Newspapers and discarded polystyrene cups had been building up in the empty cavity underneath the wooden stands.
Oh.
Suddenly, that accumulated waste ignited. Driven by windy conditions, the flames rapidly spread, reaching the roof. But the roof was just more fuel. The
Oh,
roof was
fuck,
constructed of
no.
wood covered in tarpaulin, sealed with highly flammable asphalt and bitumen.
Oh,
When the
wonderful.
flames hit it, it melted and rained fire down onto the crowd.
And that spread fast as
In less than
fuck.
4
Holy
minutes,
shit.
The entire stand was engulfed in flame. Thick black smoke filled the stadium as thousands of supporters scrambled for the exits. Some escape routes were locked or blocked, forcing
Why?
people to climb over barriers or run through the flames to survive. While thousands
Why were
escaped
they
onto
locked?
the open pitch, others ran toward the back of the stand to avoid the smoke, but that's where they made an even more terrifying discovery. The exit doors were locked. Trapped by the
Why?
flames closing in behind them, many had nowhere left to go. The fire claimed the lives of 56 people and injured at least 265 others.
So, wait, hold on. I guess this is before the fire laws, where you're supposed to have mandatory unlocked fire exits, no matter what. Because this shit would not stand today. We're not allowed to lock any fire exits. I'm assuming, you know, for shit like this. Fucking what? When did they say? It was like in 19... I can't tell.
The devastating footage
You're right, fire is
shocked the
fast.
United Kingdom and led to a major public inquiry.
That's why you put it on
Investigators
cars,
traced the
to go
likely
faster.
cause to a lit cigarette falling through gaps in the wooden seating. But the tragedy permanently
Our laws only
changed
work in America?
football stadium safety in Britain. Wooden
I was in Britain,
grandstands
that's
were
why.
phased out, and stricter fire safety rules were introduced.
Yeah, for good
Hidden
reason.
fire.
Hidden
On October
fire. More
19th,
fire? Oh no.
1991, firefighters responded to a brush fire in Oakland, California.
Hmm.
It was relatively small and was brought under control. Or so they thought. Unbeknownst to them, the fire continued to smolder beneath a thick layer of fallen pine needles. But that blaze remained
Oh.
hidden long enough after the visible flames were gone. At 10:45 a.m. the following morning,
Wait a minute, what does it say on their
powerful winds
on their coat?
reignited 10:45 a.m. the following
I said, what did it say?
that blaze remained hidden long enough after the visible flames were gone.
It literally says oof. Wait a minute. Oh, it's ODF. Sorry. Man, we just forgot there was fire down here. Oof. My bad. Oy. Yeah, smoking in restaurants wasn't allowed either. Shit changes fast, especially if it becomes a problem or like a danger to lives. Smoking, it took time to phase out, but smoking finally got more or less phased out and got replaced with vaping. Yay, what a fucking wonderful invention that is. The thing is, I feel bad for the creator of vapes. The thing was created specifically to help people quit smoking. And then, of course, they got bought out and, like, started putting nicotine in that shit and made it worse. Good job.
At 10:45 a.m. the following morning, powerful winds reignited the hidden fire and pushed it up the hillside. Driven by winds reaching nearly 65 miles per hour, the flames spread with shocking speed. Burning embers were carried hundreds of feet through the air, igniting rooftops, trees, and entire neighborhoods. It all happened much faster than firefighters could possibly respond. Within an hour, nearly 800 buildings were burning. But the intense heat made it almost impossible for firefighters to get close enough to stop the flames. Well, camcorders captured that terrifying ordeal. Desperate to save their homes, residents climbed onto their roofs with garden hoses, but many quickly lost their water supply as underground pipes burst from the extreme heat. Even worse, many houses still had highly flammable wooden shingle roofs, allowing the fire to spread from home to home. Some homes were reduced to ashes in less than 10 minutes.
God
By the time the fire was finally contained the following day,
fire works quickly.
And around 150 had been injured, and more than 3,000 homes had been destroyed. In the years that followed, California and local municipalities banned wooden shake roofs in many high-risk areas. They expanded vegetation management programs to remove flammable brush and trees. A tiny touch.
And all it takes is one incident to wake you up.
Alan McNish fighting for position. The next, they were looking at a 160
Wait, I think I've fucking seen this one. Oh shit!
On June 18th, 2011, drivers from around the world gathered at the 24 hours
he died on
in
impact.
France. One of them was Scottish driver Alan McNish. During the opening hours of the race, McNish was battling for position in his Audi, pushing hard through the opening laps. After passing his teammates, he spotted a slower Ferrari ahead and moved in to a narrow gap to lap it. The Ferrari driver...
He spotted a slower Ferrari ahead and locked onto his target. "You're mine, slow boy," he said in his head, menacingly. I'm sorry, it's been long enough. I can make fun of it. His Masquerade really covered many of these. Well, to be fair, these are like all the most prominent dark moments of the internet, so I guess it makes sense.
Likely never saw the Audi in his blind spot. He turned into the racing line, resulting in slight contact between the two cars. Well, at more than 160 miles per hour,
that's all it takes.
Touch was all it took. McNish's Audi was launched into the air, and seconds later, it slammed violently into the tire barrier and safety fencing. The impact tore the car apart, sending carbon fiber debris across the circuit. One of the wheels was thrown over the safety fence, narrowly missing photographers and race officials standing just beyond the barrier. The crash looked unsurvivable.
Brutal.
But somehow, McNish did it.
Wait, what? I thought he died on impact.
The survival cell around the driver's seat remained intact. McNish climbed out of the wreckage on his own, suffering only minor cuts and bruises. But the accident put Le Mans' modern safety features to the test. Although debris reached the spectator area, the fencing and barriers prevented what could have become a far greater tragedy.
God damn. Well, good for him.
Level 3.
I'm glad he survived.
The routine disposal.
Routine
On August 16th,
disposal of
1985,
what?
staff at the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee discovered an explosive device outside their office. The Boston
Oh.
Police Bomb Squad quickly
Wait,
responded,
no,
intending...
Wait a minute. Is the explosive device of Arab descent? Perhaps. Wouldn't that be ironic? Yeah, damn. I'm sorry, I gotta make some humor out of this because otherwise it's gonna be a real bleak video. And the one you're remembering is him going too fast and not making the turn. Oh, yeah, okay. It's just him drifting off the track looked familiar, but I think it was something else completely, yeah. No, I think you're right. Alright, back into it. We still got, oh god, it's over an hour. Well, it is now, with me pausing and all that. Alright, here we go.
To move the bomb. Now, wanting to avoid endangering public areas, technicians secured the live device and transported it to a remote dump site. They deliberately avoided major highways, overpasses, and pedestrian bridges. Their biggest
and for
concern
good reason.
was reducing the risk to the public if the bomb suddenly exploded during transit. Once at the site, 40-year-old bomb technician Randy LaMattina prepared to defuse the device. By then, a photographer had arrived to record what was expected to be a routine operation. Following standard practice at the time, LaMattina chose
What do you mean
not to
he
wear
expected?
a heavy bomb suit or headgear so he could better manipulate the device.
Don't
and
use
avoid a tragic
language like that.
As he reached into a protective containment cylinder to work on the pipe bomb, it exploded.
Oh!
Force was projected directly into his face.
Oh,
The
fuck!
explosion blew out all of LaMattina's teeth and left him with severe burns and caused permanent hearing loss. The blast
Oh,
left his partner
fuck!
so traumatized that he was hospitalized with stress-induced chest pain. Remarkably,
What
LaMattina survived.
Yeah?
Despite
I
his
don't fucking
life-changing
blame him.
injuries, he later returned to bomb disposal work, using
Really?
his experience to help train and protect future technicians.
Bro, what a fucking
Investigators later
Chad.
linked the device to a series of targeted bombings against the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. However, no one was ever formally charged in connection with the attack.
They never actually found someone. Damn.
A better view.
Bro had a bomb blow up in his fucking
150,000
face.
Fans gathered
He
at
took
the
it like a
Maracanã
champ and kept
Stadium in
going.
Brazil, expecting
What
to
the
celebrate
fuck?
Flamengo's championship victory. Instead, the cameras captured one of the darkest moments in the stadium's history.
More stadium
On
bullshit.
July
Let's
19th,
go.
1992, during the Brazilian championship final, hundreds of supporters
Brazil.
surged toward a front safety barrier for a better view.
Oh,
The aging barrier was
fuck.
never designed to withstand that
Yeah,
much
I know where this is
pressure.
going.
As more and more people pushed against it, it suddenly gave way.
Yep.
With no time to react,
I
dozens
saw that
of
one
tightly
coming.
packed fans lost their footing and plunged roughly 25 feet onto the concrete seating rows below. Cameras captured the panic as people screamed while others desperately clung to the remaining railings to avoid falling. As the scene spiraled into chaos, rescue helicopters quickly arrived to evacuate the injured. But the match wasn't finished, and officials decided to allow the match to continue despite the deaths in the stands. They worried that abandoning it could trigger an even larger riot inside the packed stadium. Following the final whistle, the Rio de Janeiro state government ordered the immediate closure of the Maracanã so forensic engineers could examine the structure. By that point, 3 people had been killed and more than 50 others had been injured. Investigators later concluded
Fucking
that the
hell.
collapse resulted from structural deficiencies, poor maintenance, and the immense pressure exerted by the crowd on the aging barrier. To reduce overcrowding and improve spectator safety, authorities launched a multi-year renovation that eventually transformed the Maracanã into an all-cedar stadium.
Well, you know what? That's a pretty good change. Good for
Plane
them.
accident of
It's
Anatoly
a shame it took
Kocher.
3 people to die
On
for it.
June 8, 1989, thousands of spectators had gathered to watch one of the Soviet Union's best fighter pilots perform. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union often used air shows to demonstrate that its military aircraft could rival and in some cases outperform their Western counterparts. That day, test pilot Anatoly Kocher took to the skies in a MiG-29 fighter jet. His mission was to
read it
demonstrate its
wrong,
ability
though.
to fly at extremely slow
Wait. You guys are gonna want to check this out. You wrote it wrong. Anatoly is fine, but Kvochar is written differently here. Oi! You can't just edit videos without looking at what you're editing. You gotta double check that shit. Come on, man. Sorry, I had to point that out.
Fighter jet. His mission was to demonstrate its ability to fly at extremely slow speeds. Many other fighter jets would normally stall in this circumstance, but he didn't expect that nature would get in the way. At an altitude of just 160 meters, the aircraft struck a flock of birds. One of them was sucked into the right engine, and suddenly that engine burst into flames, completely losing thrust. Kvochar immediately increased the remaining engine's power to keep the aircraft in the air. It was already too late. As the aircraft plunged nose first toward the ground, Kvochar prioritized saving the spectators below. He delayed his escape for a split second to steer the falling fighter completely away from the crowded airshow viewing areas. And the cameras captured the outcome. Just 2 seconds before impact, Kvochar ejected from the cockpit. His parachute deployed almost immediately as the MiG crashed into a nearby field and erupted into flames.
Hope he survived.
Remarkably, he survived with only minor injuries. Ironically, it turned out to be just as much of a success for the Soviets. Although the aircraft was destroyed, the incident became a dramatic demonstration of how well the MiG-29's ejection system worked, even at low altitude.
God fucking damn it.
The spokesman. To millions, Kurt Cobain was the voice of a generation. Behind closed doors, however, a very different story was unfolding. By 1994, Cobain was one of the biggest names in rock music. As the frontman of the rock band Nirvana, he resonated with millions of alienated young people. The media soon labeled him...
It's weird. You hear of Kurt Cobain having, you know, gone... I don't know anything about it. I just know that it happened, and that's it. I don't think it was old enough to understand what was going on. Like, I don't know. To me, it's just Nirvana was music, and it just had music. And then only later on that I find out, oh, yeah, no, he's not around anymore. Because he, you know, himself. I'm like, what? Okay, well, that's sad as fuck. I'm sorry to hear that. I never even knew Kurt Cobain as anyone. But still fucking sucks to hear. I hope we actually get more information on that, because I am actually kind of curious.
Spokesman of Generation X. Well, behind the success, however, Cobain had been struggling with addiction and his mental health. In March 1994, his wife, Courtney Love, called the police to their Seattle home. She said that Cobain had locked himself inside a room with a firearm, and she feared he might harm himself. When officers spoke with Cobain, he denied the suggestion. He told the authorities that he had locked himself away to get some space after an argument. Police found several firearms inside the house, but made no arrests, treating the incident as a verbal domestic dispute. Less than 2 weeks later, Cobain entered a rehab facility in Los Angeles, but within days he left without telling staff and returned to Seattle. Well, that was the last time anyone saw him. On April 8th, an electrician arrived at Cobain's home in Seattle to install a security system. And as he looked through a window near the garage, he noticed what he initially believed was a mannequin lying inside. It wasn't. After realizing someone was unresponsive, he contacted emergency services.
Damn, that fucking sucks.
The camcorder footage captures the exterior of the property as police vehicles and investigators begin to arrive. First glance, the house appears completely ordinary, making it difficult to
imagine walking into something like that.
Inside.
That would
Investigators
fucking
later
hurt
determined
me,
that
dude.
Cobain had died 3 days earlier. Near him.
Wait, hold on. He died 3 days earlier, but the electrician was... I guess there was an appointment set up for the security install? Did they call to confirm? Why are they going in? That's kind of a weird reason. Okay, whatever. But yeah. Like, damn. Imagine that. Imagine walking in and finding a dead body. That shit would hurt. Me specifically. I have to deal with old people with my job. I could not handle that. I would. Ugh. And then you gotta call the cops, and then you gotta stay there for questioning. And I don't know what the fuck happened. I just walked in and saw it. Like, what do you do in that situation? How do you process that? Ugh. Sorry, I'm not good with... Like, I see a fucking dragonfly dead on the ground and I feel bad, alright? Imagine seeing an actual fucking person. For me, that would suck. I love dragonflies, by the way. They're my favorite insect. One of. Moths are also another really good one. But yeah, when I see that on the ground, like, damn, that's a shame. That sucks. You were doing a favor for us. You were eating all the insects. You were eating the mosquitoes that were fucking over everyone else. Shit.
They found a handwritten note addressed to his fans and family, along with a weapon across his body, a wallet, sunglasses, and a drug kit. His death became a generational moment of mourning.
Yeah.
Now, so far the camera has documented what happened, and the next recordings reveal what no one noticed until it was far too late. So subscribe and stay with us. Level 4. The Farmers' Protest. For 12 years, a group of farmers fought the Japanese government with bamboo spears, tunnels, and fire.
Oh, in Japan.
They nearly won. In July 1966, the Japanese government announced plans to build Tokyo's new international airport. But they'd be building it in the rural farming communities of Sanrizuka and Shibayama. The farmers learned they had land that had been selected through television reports. They felt the government had decided the fate of their homes without their consent.
Yeah, no, that's fucking bullshit.
Overreach, the farmers refused to comply and formed an official protest group. At first, they resisted peacefully through sit-ins, negotiations, and legal appeals. The government continued to send surveyors and construction crews. As more police arrived to secure the area, the farmers realized that peaceful resistance alone would never stop the airport. So they decided to take action. Protesters dug tunnels, built bunkers and watchtowers, and carved
curious
deep
to see what
ditches
happened.
Across the farmland.
'Cause I don't know. I'd never heard of this.
Some threw Molotov cocktails, launched rocks, and charged police lines carrying sharpened bamboo spears. By October 1967, the conflict had erupted into a full-scale riot. Roughly 1,200 protesters clashed with more than 2,000 riot police. The violence continued for years. Police responded with increasing numbers, water cannons, cranes, and bulldozers. In some confrontations, towers were demolished while protesters were still inside.
Jeez.
But by 1978, the airport was finally preparing to open. Although authorities deployed nearly 14,000 riot police to protect the facility, protesters made one final attempt to stop it. As thousands rallied outside, a burning truck crashed through the airport's gates. Before police could fully respond...
So they're trying to stop it from opening? So that means their land's already been destroyed, since the airport's already done. The hell's the point at that point? I mean, yeah, it fucking sucks. The fact that their land, as farmers, their livelihood got taken away from them immediately without them even being contacted first, that's fucked up. That's bullshit. They should absolutely get compensation for that. But, like, because the airport's planned to be opened, that means it's already built. That means their land's already fucked. Why are they rioting? Now. I know why they're rioting in the first place, but why now?
The airport grounds were already overrun by protesters. Meanwhile, a separate group disguised itself as construction workers. And while the police were distracted, they crawled through a sewer pipe, stormed the control tower, and destroyed the air traffic control radar equipment.
Oh,
The
fuck.
sabotage forced officials to postpone the airport's opening by nearly 2 months. However, on May 20th, 1978, Narita International Airport finally opened. It had only one runway and one terminal, no bullet train connection, and occupied just a fraction of the land originally planned. By then, many protesters realized the airport could no longer be stopped. The movement gradually fractured and faded. At least 7 people had been killed, thousands were injured, and thousands more arrested. Yet the resistance left a permanent mark. Because a handful of farmers refused buyouts, Narita could not be built according to its original design for nearly 3 decades. The final remaining landowner on airport property was removed by court order in 2023.
Damn.
Pierced heart. On August 28, 1988, more than
Holy fuck.
300,000 people attended the Flugtag 88 air show at
Flugtag?
Rammstein Air Base. One of the day's main attractions was the Italian Air Force aerobatic team Frecce Tricolori. Their signature finale was known as the Pierced Heart. The display required 10 jets to split into 2 formations. Together, they traced the outline of a giant heart with smoke trails. And at the exact moment the formations crossed, a solo jet would fly straight through the center.
Oh,
It demanded
no.
perfect timing. But as the aircraft converged,
I don't like the sound of
solo
that.
pilot misjudged the maneuver by only a fraction of a second.
Oh,
That was all it took.
fuck.
The cameras
God
captured
damn
all
it.
3 aircraft colliding in midair, instantly killing the pilots.
Oh,
One jet broke
shit.
apart, another spiraled into the ground, and the third, still traveling at tremendous speed, crashed directly into the spectator area, erupting into a massive fireball.
Oh, that fucking
Suddenly,
sucks.
Families found
Oh,
themselves caught in
shit.
the explosion and fire. But the emergency response made the disaster even worse.
Why?
U.S. military police initially prevented German
How?
civilian ambulances from entering the secure airbase. And that choice delayed vital medical
What?
treatment when every minute mattered. When German medics finally reached the victims, they discovered they could not use American medical equipment. The 2 countries' medical systems
What?
used incompatible tubing and connectors.
Oh, for
Meanwhile,
fuck's
severely burned
sakes.
victims were loaded.
Oh, jeez. Okay, this is why you standardize first aid. I don't know if it's changed now. I hope it's different now. But this is exactly why you standardize that kind of shit. Because, of course, like, Europe and America have different types of plugs, right? That's obviously it's very different. If you ask around, they'll tell you Australia's toilets go the other way. Yeah, that's different. That's just a cultural thing. They built it different. This? Medical supplies? First aid supplies. And, you know, first responder stuff. This shit needs to be standardized. Shit like this happens. And then you get problems. And it gets even worse. And then you could lose lives. But, you know, the world has never been as connected as it is today, so I don't see why it would have been back then. Now it should. I'm getting angry again. We're not even halfway through the fucking video. God damn.
Onto military buses and helicopters, but they had no coordinated triage system or consistent patient records. Many were taken to different hospitals, leaving families searching for missing loved ones for days. After all the chaos, 70 people were dead, and more than 1,000 others were injured. In the years that followed, airshow safety rules across Europe were significantly tightened. Aerobatic routines were redesigned to keep aircrafts farther from spectators, minimum separation distances were increased, and emergency response procedures were overhauled.
Yeah, well, all it takes is one incident.
After, People arriving for work that morning had no idea they were about to be caught up in one of the deadliest acts in American history.
Oh, we're going
On the morning
there.
of April 19th, 1995, employees began another ordinary day at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The 9-story building housed multiple federal agencies, a
Or is
credit
it?
union,
Oh,
and
no, it's something
a
else.
daycare center filled
The
with
fucking
young
daycare.
children. Then, at 9:02 a.m., their lives changed. A truck parked outside suddenly detonated. The explosion
What?
tore away nearly 1/3 of the building in an instant.
But what about the
Floors collapsed
children?
onto one another as concrete, steel, and glass were blasted
You
across
say
surrounding
Oklahoma?
city blocks.
Did he?
The
I actually
camcorder
wasn't paying
footage
attention.
Captures a truck parked agencies at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The 9-story building housed. On the morning of April 19th, 1995, employees began another ordinary day at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The 9-story building
I don't think he
housed
said
multiple
Oklahoma.
federal agencies, a credit union, and a daycare center filled with young children. Then, at 9:02 a.m., their lives changed. A truck parked outside suddenly
Yeah, he didn't say Oklahoma.
detonated. The explosion tore away nearly one
I don't know where
third
this
of
is.
the building in an instant. Floors collapsed onto one another as concrete, steel, and glass were blasted across surrounding city blocks. The camcorder footage captures the moments that followed. Thick clouds of dust filled the streets as survivors staggered from the wreckage. And at the same time, firefighters, police officers, and ordinary citizens rushed toward the destroyed building to search for anyone still trapped inside.
Bro, there were fucking
Rescuers
kids
worked around
in
the
there.
clock, carefully removing tons of debris in the hope
Holy
of finding
shit.
survivors. By the time the operation ended, 168 people had been
Holy
killed, while more
fuck.
than 680 others were injured.
Well, I mean,
2
whoever
days
did the
later,
fucking
forensic
bombing.
evidence led investigators to identify the suspect as Timothy McVeigh. But what stunned
Well, you know what?
investigators was
He
that
succeeded.
McVeigh was already in police custody. Just 90 minutes
Oh.
after the bombing, an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper had stopped him for driving a car without a license plate. During the traffic stop, the officer discovered McVeigh was carrying a concealed handgun without a permit and arrested him on the spot. At the
Good.
time, no one knew.
But they had no
just
idea that
carried
he did
out
that.
This devastating act.
Oh, fuck.
Investigators later concluded that McVeigh had acted with the help of an accomplice, Terry Nichols. The pair used a rented truck to deliver a massive explosive device outside the building. Timothy McVeigh was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Terry Nichols was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for his role in the attack. The
Fucking
Iranian
hell.
siege. For 6 days, the world watched a single London building, unsure whether the next update would bring a rescue or another death.
I've never heard of the
On April
Oklahoma
30th,
bombing before.
1980,
That's
6
all new
armed
information
men
to me.
stormed the Iranian
And it
embassy in
sounds
London,
fucking horrible.
taking 26 people hostage. The attackers belonged to an Iranian Arab separatist group, fueled by ethnic tensions following the 1979 Iranian Revolution. To free the hostages, they demanded the release
You were
of
9.
91
Damn.
political prisoners in Iran and safe passage out of the United Kingdom. For 5 days, British negotiators tried to resolve the crisis peacefully. They secured the release of 5 hostages in exchange for minor concessions, including allowing the group's political demands to be broadcast by the BBC. But by May 5th, the gunmen had
That doesn't
lost
sound
all
like a good
patience
idea.
with the process. Inside the embassy, they opened fire on one hostage and left his body outside for the police to see. British
Why?
authorities concluded that waiting any longer would only cost more lives. That
Oh,
evening, members of the
'cause they
Special
waited
Air
too long.
Service, or SAS, launched Operation Nimrod, while millions watched live on television. Wearing
Yeah, that's
gas
a
masks
really
and
silly
black
name.
uniforms, some
There's an
soldiers
actual
fast
meaning
roped
behind
from
the word
roof,
Nimrod, but
while
yeah.
others blasted through windows
It
and
sounds
doors
funny.
using explosive charges. During the assault, a stun grenade accidentally ignited a nylon curtain, filling the upper floors with thick smoke as gunfire echoed through the
Oh,
embassy.
good.
Just 17 minutes later, the siege was over. 5 of the 6 gunmen were dead, and 19 of the remaining hostages had been rescued. The 6 gunmen attempted to escape by blending in with the hostages during the evacuation, but outside the building, one of the freed captives immediately pointed him out to the SAS. He was identified as Fauzi Nejad. Nejad was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 25 years. He was eventually released on parole in 2008.
Really?
Level 5.
Wonderful.
Gentleman's agreement. For these football fans, the match wasn't the main event. They were here for the fight. Across Europe in the 1990s, some football clubs developed violent offshoots known as hooligan firms. Rather than supporting their teams in the stadium, these groups built their reputation by organizing brutal fights against rivals. 2 of the most notorious were linked to the Dutch clubs Ajax and Feyenoord. Their leaders would secretly agree on a time and place to meet, often far from stadiums and police. At that site, hundreds of members would battle for dominance. In February 1997, the 2 firms arranged one of these fights, but Feyenoord broke a gentleman's agreement to bring only 50 fighters. Instead, they arrived with around 75. Outnumbered, the Ajax group fled the scene. But they weren't about to give in. Ajax demanded a rematch. A new meeting was arranged for March 23rd near the Dutch town of
What the fuck is wrong with
Beverwijk.
people?
The location lay along the route that Feyenoord supporters would take to an away match later that day. Once again, Ajax badly miscalculated. Although they arrived with roughly 150 members, the Feyenoord firm brought an estimated 300 hardened fighters. Even worse, both sides came armed with baseball bats, iron bars, hammers, tasers, and blades.
This is going to sound a little strange coming from me. The fuck is wrong with people? What? Do you plan on killing each other? Is that what this is? Jesus fucking Christ. Why? Because you're hoping the opposite team wins? The fuck is wrong with people? Oh yeah, let's set up a date so that we can punch, kick, and stab and shoot each other. For fun. For sport. I'm not even that radical when it comes to, like, things I like. Jesus Christ.
Camcorder footage from that day captures the aftermath of the brawl.
Yeah?
Within minutes, the organized fight descended into complete chaos.
No shit.
Participants scattered across the field while others continued attacking anyone in their path. By the time police reached the scene, many of those involved had already fled, and those who didn't suffered a more painful fate. Several Ajax supporters suffered serious injuries, but one, 35-year-old Carlo Picorni, was beaten to death during the violence.
Oh yeah, so they were trying to kill each other.
And marked a turning point in the country's fight against football hooliganism. After Beverwijk, Dutch authorities stopped treating hooligan
It should have been a thing to begin with.
Fan groups, and instead they investigated them as organized criminal networks, using undercover officers and phone surveillance to identify members and prevent further clashes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Move. When police can't end a standoff, they usually bring in more officers. In Philadelphia, they brought in a bomb. On May 13th, 1985, Philadelphia police attempted to serve arrest warrants at a row house occupied by members of MOVE, a radical black-led organization founded by John Africa. Its members lived communally, rejected modern technology, and adopted the surname Africa to symbolize their spiritual unity. However, Their disruptive megaphone protests, anti-government rhetoric, and heavily fortified compound led to growing complaints from neighbors. Law enforcement had confronted MOVE before. In 1978, an earlier attempt to remove the group ended in a shootout that killed an officer and sent 9 MOVE members to prison. By 1985, city officials obtained new arrest warrants and prepared another operation to remove the group. Early on May 13th, nearly 500 police officers surrounded the compound. But when MOVE members refused to surrender, police fired more than 10,000 rounds into the building.
Fuck.
Yet the standoff continued. And even worse, city officials had an extraordinarily new plan just waiting in the wings. A Pennsylvania State Police helicopter flew over the house.
Are they gonna bomb
and
it?
dropped an explosive onto a fortified bunker built on the roof. The blast instantly ignited a fire, but firefighters were ordered not to extinguish it. They believed the flames would destroy the bunker and force the occupants out. Instead, the fire quickly got out of control. Strong winds carried the flames from one row house to the next. As the fire spread, some
the
MOVE
consequences
members
of our
attempted to
actions
escape,
yet
but
again.
It was tragically too late. By the time firefighters were finally allowed to intervene, 61 homes had been destroyed.
Fucking hell.
11 people inside the MOVE house were dead, and more than 250 residents had been left homeless. Only 2 members survived, Ramona Africa and 13-year-old Birdie Africa. Ramona later said police gunfire forced them back into the burning building, and that claim became one of the most controversial aspects of the disaster. An independent investigative commission later described the bombing as unconscionable and concluded that city officials had acted with gross negligence.
Yeah, no
Yet
shit.
Despite the deaths, the destruction of an entire neighborhood, and widespread public outrage, no city official was ever criminally charged.
Of course, because
Rodney King.
they have power.
If this camcorder hadn't been recording one of the most important police brutality cases in American history, might never have been believed.
Rodney
On
King.
March 3rd, 1991,
That sounds
police
familiar.
attempted to pull over 25-year-old Rodney King for speeding. Instead of stopping, King, who was on parole, led officers on a high-speed chase through Los Angeles. Eventually, he came to a stop in a residential neighborhood, but after King exited the vehicle, LAPD officers surrounded him. Believing he was resisting arrest, they fired stun guns, struck him with metal batons, and repeatedly kicked him while on the ground. Once the attack ended, officers handcuffed King, restrained his legs, and took him into custody. He was transported to a hospital where doctors found he had suffered a fractured facial bone, a broken ankle, and permanent nerve damage. And he was later transferred to jail. The officers believed the incident was over. They couldn't have been more wrong.
All right, I'm not here to take sides. The officers went way too fucking far on that. That is fucking ridiculous. But he never should have fled the scene. I don't know why the fuck he decided to drive off like that. That's just stupid. But to fucking beat his face in like that? What the fuck? Alright. Why do we watch these? Why do we watch these? This is all that fucking pops up in my feed. This is why I want you guys to give me videos. I don't want to watch this shit no more. Not that it's, horrible, bad shit or anything. It's just, I'd like some happy stuff in my life every now and then, you know what I mean?
From the balcony of a nearby apartment, a resident named George Holliday had recorded the final 9 minutes of the encounter on his camcorder.
Good for
For
him.
2 days, Holliday searched for someone willing to air the footage. He eventually found a local television station. The video was broadcast across the United States before quickly spreading worldwide.
The police targeted him, so he went someplace with possible witnesses.
4 officers involved were charged with assault and excessive use of force. But to avoid what the defense argued would be a biased jury in Los Angeles, the trial was moved to the predominantly white suburb of Simi Valley. On April 29, 1992, the jury acquitted 3 officers and failed to reach a verdict on the 4th. The verdict outraged the nation. Within hours, protests erupted across Los Angeles, and they quickly escalated into 6 days of riots, looting, arson, and violent confrontations. After the final day,
I never understood
53
that.
people.
Jesus fucking Christ. Why? So one guy had excessive police force used against him. I'm gonna go kill a guy. What? That's fucking stupid. And I think 53 people had that same thought. The police didn't get thrown in jail for what they did. I gotta go kill a guy. Hey, Johnny, bring 52 more friends with you. Fucking Christ.
Had been killed. More than 2,000 were injured, and property damage exceeded $1 billion. Federal government later prosecuted the officers for violating Rodney King's civil rights. And in 1993, 2 officers were convicted, each sentenced to 30 months in federal prison.
30 months?
Level 6. Diane Downs interview. On May 19th, 1983, 28-year-old Diane Downs arrived at a hospital with a bullet wound and 3 wounded children inside her
What the
car.
fuck?
One of them did not survive, while the other 2 were seriously injured. Diane told investigators that a stranger had flagged her down on a dark rural road. Then he suddenly opened fire on them. But while her children were fighting for their lives, Diane began giving television interviews. Rather than appearing devastated, she often smiled and showed little emotion as she discussed the tragic incident. She even
it seems a little
reenacted parts
suspicious.
of the shooting for television cameras.
So, it looks like she just wanted attention.
Viewers. And at the same time, investigators were beginning to question Diane's story. During hours of recorded interviews, she repeatedly changed key details of her account. The mysterious gunman shifted
that's a red
from being
flag.
a stranger to someone who might have known her. As questioning continued, Diane grew increasingly frustrated. And then, without warning, she changed her story again, saying she believed she knew who the attacker was.
You've changed it by saying that this guy knew you now, he knew your tattoo, he knows about you, he threatened you.
And I have one man sitting here looking at me with a face of stone. I have another man over there smoking a cigarette, 90 miles an hour, and pacing. And I'm leaving because I know who did it. Bye.
The breakthrough finally came months later. Her daughter, Christy, had survived the shooting, but suffered a stroke that left her unable to speak for months.
Oh, fuck.
When she finally regained her ability to communicate, Christy told investigators that her mother had been the one who shot them.
No shit.
That statement confirmed what detectives had already suspected. Diane Downs was arrested and charged in court.
Well, because that's exactly what they're looking for. If your story... If you're too specific with your story, that's suspicious. Because it feels rehearsed. It feels like you plan this all out in your head over and over again. If it's constantly changing, that's not good either. Because then what's real and what's not? You're probably making shit up. Also very bad. That's what police are looking for. And also looking at micro movements, micro expressions on your face when you're talking and when they're asking you questions. And there's a bunch of tricks that they use to see, if you're a suspect, how much of a suspect are you? And yeah, those were a lot of fucking red flags. Jesus Christ.
Investigators concluded that Downs had attacked her children because the man she was obsessed with did not want children. Rather than ending the relationship, prosecutors argued that she chose to eliminate her children so she could present herself as a woman with no parental responsibilities.
Jesus fucking Christ. So she is psychotic.
Plus 50 years. 4 years later, Downs escaped from prison and remained on the run for 11 days before authorities tracked her down and returned her to custody. The getaway.
But she's not getting out now. She tried to get out. You're not getting out.
Bank in Denver, escaping with approximately $300. But this wasn't his first crime. A year earlier, Hutchinson had escaped from a Texas prison by hot-wiring a prison truck and crashing it through the facility's security fence. Since then, he had been living under an alias. The bank robbery, however, put him back in the spotlight. Within minutes, police spotted his brown Chevrolet K5 Blazer, triggering a high-speed chase through Denver. As officers closed in, Hutchinson rammed a police cruiser, killing a detective. Meanwhile,
what the fuck?
Police officer Mike Silva was piloting a news helicopter covering an unrelated story nearby. Well, after spotting the pursuit, he began following Hutchinson's vehicle from the air and relaying its location to officers on the ground.
Fucking
chase
based.
Suddenly changed. After crashing into a tree, Hutchinson abandoned his vehicle and ran into a nearby residential neighborhood looking for another way to escape. He first tried to hijack a car carrying a woman and her young son. Realizing he was armed, the woman sped away, and Hutchinson fired several shots after the fleeing vehicle but missed. Running out of options, Hutchinson forced his way into a pickup truck. He held the 73-year-old driver at gunpoint, ordering him to step on the gas. From above, Silva realized the officers on the ground had once again lost sight of the suspect. In a move rarely seen during a police pursuit, he flew the helicopter beneath nearby power lines. He hovered just a few feet above the pickup truck. The powerful rotor wash battered the vehicle, making it impossible for Hutchinson to continue driving and forcing the truck to a stop. Within seconds, police surrounded the vehicle. And with nowhere left to run, Hutchinson forced the driver out of the truck and used him as a human shield, holding him hostage. The camcorder footage captured the tense standoff. And then, for just a moment, Hutchinson lowered his weapon. Police sharpshooters immediately opened fire, taking him out instantly. The 73-year-old survived without injury, bringing one of Denver's most dramatic police chases to
Damn. Based helicopter, though. Fucking hell.
1993, 25-year-old Leon Terrace arrived at a McDonald's restaurant in Kenosha, Wisconsin. But unlike everyone else, he wasn't there for food. Dressed in military jungle fatigues, Terrace had brought a rifle and a revolver. However, he had already made a mistake. Terrace had accidentally locked the rifle and its ammunition inside his car. Well, he decided to go ahead anyway, abandoning it in the parking lot and entering the restaurant armed only with the revolver. Inside, Terrace ordered everyone to get down or get out. But before many could react, he opened fire. Within minutes, the police surrounded the restaurant, but the shooting had already ended. Before officers could breach the building,
so why
Terrace
McDonald's?
took his own life. And by then, the damage was done.
Wait, what?
A 50-year-old man had been killed while a 39-year-old woman was critically wounded, and she died in the hospital the following day. As investigators searched for a motive, they discovered the answer had already been recorded. Inside Terrace's vehicle, officers found a 40-minute videotape he had made the previous day. Speaking directly to the camera, Terrace described his growing hatred of society, claiming he heard voices, and repeatedly warned that payback time was coming. The tape offered a disturbing glimpse into his state of mind.
So he had schizophrenia.
To this day, only portions of the recording have been publicly released, leaving much of Terrace's final message unseen. Authorities will make sure the rest is never seen publicly.
So he was just psychotic.
At first glance, this appears
just
to be
needed
footage
help.
of an ordinary farmhouse. But what you can't see is what the police discovered hidden inside for years. On October 13th, 2019, a 25-year-old man named Jan walked into a local pub in the quiet Dutch village of Rounderhoed. He appeared confused,
Run the
disheveled,
world.
and unfamiliar with the outside world. After ordering several beers, he told the pub owner he had escaped from a nearby farm and desperately needed help. Concerned by his story, police searched the isolated property.
He just really wanted that beer
Inside,
first.
They discovered a hidden staircase
Jeez.
concealed behind a cupboard in the living room. The
Oh,
staircase
fuck.
led to a series of hidden rooms where 5
Oh,
young adults were
shit.
living alongside their bedridden 67-year-old father, Gerrit van Dorsten. The family had lived in near total isolation for years. Van Dorsten had convinced his children that the outside world was dangerous and that they should remain hidden until the end of the world. Many of the children had never attended school, had little to no contact with people outside the farm, and
Bro, that's just fucking evil. It's one thing to do that to yourself, but to do that to fucking kids? Who have no fucking idea what the hell's going on. You're basically forcing them into isolation against their will because you're stupid. Wonderful. God fucking damn it, I hate that shit so fucking much. People who do that, who target children because their minds are easily malleable and they believe and they're very naive. That's fucking, oh. Stop.
were unknown to local authorities. Further investigation revealed that Van Dorsten had fathered 9 children. 3 of the oldest had managed to leave years earlier, while the younger siblings remained on the property. What shocked investigators even more was the children's reaction. After spending years isolated from society, several of the younger siblings initially defended their father and questioned why the police had intervened. The older siblings, however, supported the rescue and later accused Van Dorsten of years of mistreatment. Investigators also uncovered the role of 58-year-old Austrian carpenter Josef Brunner, who rented and managed the property. He was the only person regularly seen outside the farm and was accused of helping maintain the family's isolation.
Did he know?
Van Dorsten was arrested on suspicion of unlawful deprivation of liberty and multiple counts of abuse. However, after suffering a severe stroke, a Dutch court ruled in 2021 that he was mentally unfit to stand trial. In 2022, Josef Brunner was sentenced to 3 years in prison for his role in the crime.
So he did know.
Level
what
7.
The fuck, dude?
The standoff before Christmas.
Oh.
For nearly an hour, police believed they were talking a desperate man into surrendering. They had no idea he had already decided how it would end. On December 20th, 1989, 39-year-old Terry Rosland robbed a pharmacy in Butte, Montana, stealing large quantities of painkillers. The police were onto him, and soon after, he was leading police on a
Thankfully, none of this happens anymore, right? These are all
Rosland's
old.
life had been unraveling for months. He had recently lost his job, and his marriage was falling apart. Earlier that same day, his wife had obtained a restraining order protecting herself and their son.
Oh.
The pursuit ended in a busy shopping district just days before Christmas. When officers surrounded Rosland's car, he revealed that it was packed with gasoline and homemade explosives.
What the fuck?
He demanded to speak with his wife and son,
whoa.
to end his life if his...
That means he's gonna blow himself up. He's not just taking himself out, he's taking everyone else with him. No! No, you don't do that. That's crossing a fucking line you should never cross. What the fuck? Killing yourself is bad enough. Taking everyone else out with you is even fucking worse. They didn't do anything for that. They didn't deserve that. They didn't choose it like you did.
His demands were not met. As shoppers watched from a distance, bystanders began recording the standoff on their camcorders. For the next 45 minutes, a local sheriff and 2 officers who personally knew Rosland stood beside the vehicle, pleading with their longtime friend to surrender. The footage captures the tense negotiations as officers tried to convince him to step out of the car peacefully, But it was all for nothing. Without warning, Rosalind detonated the explosives.
God damn
Blast
it.
engulfed the vehicle in a massive fireball, throwing nearby officers backward and sending debris across the street. Now, remarkably, the officer standing beside the car survived with only minor injuries. And even more astonishing, Rosalind himself survived the explosion.
What the fuck?
Despite suffering burns over more than 70% of his body. While still engulfed in
Well,
flames,
yeah, I believe
he
that.
stumbled out of the wreckage before firefighters rushed in to extinguish the fire. Rosalind spent months recovering from his injuries and was later charged with multiple offenses. Before his trial could begin, however, he died from an overdose in October 1990.
Oh, he took the easy way out.
The farewell.
Like a pussy.
These people weren't saying goodbye because they thought they were dying. They believed they were about to begin a new life. In the 1970s, Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles, who called themselves Doe and T, founded Heaven's Gate. It was a religious movement that claimed human bodies were merely temporary vehicles for the soul. According to
I despise this. Like, genuinely. This gets my blood boiling, dude. Oh, man, cults who do this. Fuck you. Genuinely. Fuck you. That is misinformation of the highest order. That is just fucked up. Again, if you're gonna do it yourself, do it to yourself. Who fucking cares? Do not drag other people into this shit. But that's what cults do. That's how cults operate. You gotta drag other people into this shit.
their teachings,
Unfucking believable.
faithful followers could leave these vessels behind and ascend to a higher level of existence among advanced extraterrestrial beings.
Oy.
After Nettles died in 1985,
Yeah, that definitely sounds
Applewhite
believable for sure,
continued
right?
leading the group. When Comet Hale-Bopp appeared in 1997, he became convinced a spacecraft traveling behind the comet had come to take them to that next level. Well, in March 1997, members of Heaven's Gate gathered inside a rented mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. Believing their departure was only days away, the group began preparing for what they called their exit. In the days leading up to their
congratulations,
final act,
you left
dozens of
life.
members sat before a camcorder and recorded individual farewell messages. Rather than appearing frightened, many sounded excited, convinced they were about to leave their human bodies behind and begin a new existence. On March 26, 1997, authorities entered the mansion after receiving an anonymous tip. Inside, they found the bodies of 39 members, including Marshall Applewhite. Investigators determined that the group had died in stages over 3 days after consuming a poisoned applesauce. All members were dressed identically in black, a square purple shroud covering their torsos. Next to the bodies, police found the master copies of the farewell videotapes, neatly labeled and stacked alongside the group's extensive written manifestos and farewell letters. Following the discovery, the cult's remaining members, who had been left behind to manage their internet presence, released the exit videos to the media. The Devil's Ranch.
That's fucked
In
up,
March
dude.
1989,
I fucking hate that
21-year-old
shit.
Mark Kilroy disappeared while on spring break.
He
in
looks like a
Matamoros,
Kilroy.
Mexico. Authorities
It looks like he
searching for
would
him
kill Roy
had
if he
no
ever saw
idea
him.
The case would lead them to one of the most horrifying crime scenes in modern history. Kilroy had been out with friends when he became separated from the group. For weeks, authorities searched both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border, but found nothing. The breakthrough came from an unrelated police chase. On April 1st, Mexican police pursued a vehicle that had sped through a drug checkpoint. The chase ended.
No,
at a
you
remote
can't show
property
that clip. There's snow
known
in there.
as
There's no
Rancho
snow in
Santa
Mexico.
Elena, where officers arrested one of the cult members. During questioning, he claimed he belonged to a cult that practiced human sacrifice because its members believed the rituals made them invisible to police. The member pointed them
again
to
with the
ranch,
cults
and while searching, officers
and
also
the
detained
absolutely
the property's
ridiculous fucking
caretaker.
reasons for
Now,
killing
at the same
people.
time, Mark Kilroy's disappearance had received widespread media attention with missing person posters circulating. The caretaker recognized Kilroy's photograph. He had seen the young American handcuffed in the back of a Suburban at the ranch weeks earlier. Confronted with this new information, investigators intensified
Only
their
weeks.
interrogation. He eventually confessed that Kilroy had been taken to the ranch for one of the rituals. Days later, investigators returned with the suspects and began digging. The camcorder footage captured the horrifying discovery. Investigators uncovered 15 bodies buried on the
Jesus
property,
Christ.
including Mark Kilroy. Inside a small shack, they found blood-stained ritual objects, human and animal remains, and a large iron cauldron used during ceremonies. By then, the cult's leader, Adolfo Constanzo, had already fled. And less than a month later, police tracked him to an apartment in Mexico City. And as officers closed in, Constanzo ordered one of his followers to eliminate him before the police could get him. Despite losing
Once again, taking the easy way out. He doesn't even want to do it himself. What a fucking pussy. People will find the dumbest fucking reasons to kill. That is ridiculous. Cults. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? You can't make this shit up. Some people are just really that deranged. Holy fuck.
Constanzo, officers arrested Sarah Aldrete. An honor student from Texas, Aldrete initially claimed she had been held hostage. Investigators, however, concluded that she had helped recruit members into the cult and earned the nickname the Godmother. Well, she was later sentenced to 50 years in prison.
A pretty woman. That's the best way to get people into a cult. Ah. Is this the 8th level? We're not going to see that level, though, are we? No, we're not. Only on the Patreon. Oh.
Now that was the most disturbing Camcorder Moments Volume 2 iceberg. And I think those recordings were disturbing? Well, wait until you see the moments that seem to break reality in
No,
the
I don't
most
wanna.
disturbing reality glitches caught on camera iceberg. And also, this iceberg doesn't end here. We have an exclusive and uncensored Level 8 now available on our Patreon.
I don't wanna.
In the description.
Please, I just need a break. I just fucking want a break, dude. God fucking damn it. Why is it always the dark shit? I hate that shit so much. Fuck cults. I will say that at the top of my lungs. I will die on this fucking hill if I have to. Fuck cults. They're all fucking horrible. They prey on the weak-minded and the gullible. And the vulnerable, no less. Even worse if it targets children. Well, that was another YouTube video. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. I need a break. I'm genuinely angry after watching that. This happens all the time. Hopefully we can get into some happier stuff after this. But thank you everybody so much. And I will see you next time. Bye.